I'm Ray. The one constant through all the years, Ray, has been baseball.
Little roller up along first. Behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win. Now the 2-1. Line drive to the base. Just as the score the tying run. Green to the plate. And he is saved. Saved at the plate. The Braves go to the World Series.
Have reserved seats somewhere along one of the baselines that sat for your children and cheered their heroes.
Gibson swings and a fly ball to deep right field. This is going to be a home run. Unbelievable!
A 3-run home run for Bucky Dent. The Yankees now lead by a score of 3-2.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mazeroski has hit a 1-0 pitch over the left field fence at Ford Field to win the 1960 World Series.
He'll arrive at your door as innocent as children, longing for the past.
The Pope arrived at Yankee Stadium. As one enthusiastic announcer put it, he is standing on second base.
Reggie Jackson. Long drive right field. It is goodbye. Big World Series.
The Blue Jays are World Series champions as Joe Carter hits a 3-run home run.
Racker throws. There's a long drive. It's going to be, I believe, the Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant. The Giants from the pennant.
The 0-1 pitch. A liner off Nagy's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series.
The memories will be so thick that I can brush them with my faces.
The 1-0 delivery to Fisk. He swings, long drive, left field. If it stays fair, it's gone. Home run! The Red Sox win. And the series is...
Lolich fires. Ball is hit high in the air. This should be the series. Freehand waving everybody away in foul territory. Detroit wins.
Here's the pitch to Willie. Here's a liner straight to Richardson. The ball game is over and the World Series is over. Willie McCovey hit it like a bullet. A line drive right
Baseball to mark the time.
The Oakland A's take.
I'll tell you what, we're having an early...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Candlestick Park for Game 3 of the 1989 World Series.
It's been erased like a blackboard, rebuilt and erased again.
Frank Robinson, the right-hand batter.
long drive to left field. Way back. Gets it back. Home run.
Bases loaded, 1 out. Pena in a jam. The Twins are going to win the World Series. The Twins have won it.
Ozzie with 1 out. Smith corks one into right down the line. It may go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the
Willie Mays just brought this crowd to its feet with a catch, which must have been an optical illusion to a lot of people.
This field, this game, is a part of our past, Ray. It reminds us of all that once was good, and it could be again.
Broadcasted live.
Who wants to have some fun?
There are balls coming from all over the place. Left field, center field, right field. See, this is the kind of thing, quite honestly, right now, that makes you want to see the Chicago Cubs team lose.
Now, you just saying you want to have fun, or do you really want to have fun?
It'll be fun.
Will the next person that sees anybody throw anything onto this field, point them out, or get them out of here? You don't live in Cleveland. You live in Cincinnati.
You talking to me? You talking to me?
That is the farthest thing in the universe from the truth.
Hello, everyone, live. It's the Dan Scott Show. And right there is your host, Dan Scott.
All right, well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of the program.
live from the radio booth, which doubles as my office, and our studio here on the beautiful campus of Furman University at Paladin Stadium. I'm Dan Scott. That is Forrest Stulting. A little bit of an overcast morning, at least right now, but a very pleasant day out there weather-wise so far, and hope that your day is off to a good start. I trust yours is.
Oh, yes, sir, Dan. You wake up this morning, you know it's playoff baseball time, so everything's ship-shape. So
you're just vibrating over playoff baseball,
oh,
aren't you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to be watching every game, as much baseball as I can over these next 3.5 weeks. It's going to be exciting times. I mean, it's probably going to be one of the better postseasons in a long time outside of last year's World Series games because of how dominant these top 5, 6, 7 teams are in the playoffs.
Yeah, there's going to be some pretty good battles going at it. We're going to talk about that. They begin the day with the American League wild card game. National League wild card game will be tomorrow, and then we'll move to the Division Series and then the League Championship Series. And all of that will lead to the World Series, and by the time we get to the end of October, we'll have ourselves a World Series champion. I saw yesterday where odds makers seem to be favoring a Dodgers-Indians World Series.
There's only 2 heavyweights right now, Dan, I'd say, but I think the Nationals and the Astros might have something to say about that come League Championship Series time, because those 2 teams are definitely in shape to pull an upset, if you will. I'm not sure if you call it an upset or not, but they could easily dethrone the 2 heavyweights in each division.
You know, what I'm going to be interested in seeing is, now that the postseason is here, how do the Cubs perform? Because as they found out, being a defending world champion comes with a whole set of issues that you don't have if you're not playing from that perspective. And they took some lumps at times, struggled at times during the regular season, but they end up winning the division. They're going in as the number 3 seed, and they open up with Washington in the division series. So I'm going to be very intrigued to see how they respond now that as crazy as it sounds, the pressure of the regular season is off.
Yeah.
They've made it. They won the division. They're back. Many times the defending champion doesn't even get back to the playoffs. So they're here. Does that lighten the burden on them any at all? Does it enhance the burden on them? It'll be very interesting to see how they play now that we've reached the playoffs. And of course, they also have some injury questions, including Jake Arrieta right at the top of their rotation.
It's going to be interesting to see, Dan. Obviously, their first half this year is pretty abysmal. They were down 5.5 games at the start of the end of the first half, going into the All-Star game, then won the division by 6 games. So they've been playing really good baseball these past 3 months, and it's going to be very interesting to see if they can kind of continue that going on in the playoffs and kind of get that momentum from what they had last year and kind of bring that back and have another successful postseason.
Yeah, it stacks up. The entire postseason does potentially to be one that's going to bring a lot of drama and excitement. We are going to talk some more playoff baseball a little bit later on. You can see on the screen there coming up on today's show, obviously some college football stuff we're going to get to, including the latest FCS rankings. Major League playoffs are beginning, as we just alluded to. And then for the Atlanta Braves fans, you've got an organization now suddenly in a lot of turmoil. This has been building behind the scenes, but it bubbled over yesterday into public knowledge when John Capella resigned basically under pressure, the general manager, and the Braves acknowledged that they are the target of a Major League Baseball investigation dealing with Capella chiefly trying to skirt around international signing rules, as well as perhaps tampering with potential free agents and trying to make contact and talk potential deals as much as 2.5 months prior to a season's ending when a player would become a free agent. So he resigned under significant pressure yesterday. It was interesting to read some of the things about him. He is not well liked among Major League Baseball.
And especially other general managers throughout the Major League Baseball.
His mode of operation is one that has rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And you can get away with that as long as you're being successful and some allegations like this don't crop up. But if you're a jerk and you're breaking the rules, eventually that's going to catch up to you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened yesterday. So we've got that to get to. Before us to have some college basketball stuff as well, which will lead into a little bit of a topic I want to get into at the University of Louisville as we go through the course of the program today. So a lot of stuff to get to, but as always, we start with some news from right here on campus at Furman.
We sure do, Dan. And there's going to be a whole host of news going on right now, so bear with me as I seep through all the great things that are happening around Furman University at this moment. For football, Logan McCarty, he wins a Specialist of the Week award in the SoCon. 7 receptions, 178 yards, and that big 47-yard kick return, or onside kick return this past weekend against ETSU. Volleyball, I do that all the time. I'm not sure why. Nicole Mack, a sophomore from Cascade, Colorado, won Offensive Player of the Week
it's just
in the
too
SoCon.
fast is all it is.
Exactly, yep. She had 27 kills in the 2 games this past weekend, and their 2 wins. Some scores updates for the men's and women's golf team. The women's team is tied for 5th at the Annika Intercollegiate Invitational in Minnesota. And sophomore Natalie Srinivas, she has the overall lead right now with a -6. And the second round yesterday for the Paladins, they shot a 277 overall, and that is a school record for one round. They beat a previous record of 278, which was set back in 2016. So good job by the women. All 4 of their scores were under par. The men, they are tied for 14th at their tournament, the Firestone Invitational. And Keller Harper is tied for 18th right now for the individual awards. Some calendar updates going on here. And today, volleyball is traveling to the Citadel for tonight's game. Men's soccer will host Mercer tonight at Stone Eugene Soccer Stadium at 7 o'clock. So come out and support your Paladins. And this Friday, going to get a little head start for everybody, I think, is the induction to the 2017 Furman Athletic Hall of Fame. It's Friday, October 13th at 6 p.m. for a cocktail reception and 7 p.m. seated dinner plus the program.
So not this Friday, but next Friday.
Excuse me, it is next Friday.
Yeah, before the next home game.
Yeah, get ahead of myself here. But at the Hyatt Regency downtown, North Main Street, so be sure to come out there and see some pretty great Furman athletes perform or get recognized for their performances. Cross country, the men are ranked 1st in the Southeast for the 5th straight week. They remain at 12th nationally. The women are ranked 2nd in the Southeast for the 4th straight week as well. And they moved up to 18th nationally and moved up 11 spots after their pretty good showing in Louisville this past weekend. The lacrosse team, their associate head coach, Andrew Athens, will be the head coach for Greece in 2018 World Games. And this is the first team for Greece. So congratulations to Andrew Athens and Greece for starting their lacrosse program.
So someone named Athens will coach Greece.
Are you surprised?
Yeah. Not really. Not really. It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, hopefully you caught most of that. If not, let's go back and watch it again.
That's right. It's also on the calendar at FurmanPaladins.com. Logan McCarter had a big big game against ETSU, and you could make an argument for him to have been the offensive player of the week. I think
very well could have been.
I think they took the easy way out by naming him the special teams player of the week. I would imagine that was kind of a collaborative award because of what he did from a receiving standpoint as well as to kick off, kind of like the offensive guys getting the Gold Glove awards in baseball. SoCon probably took the easy way out there, but still, it's nice to get honored. Thought that maybe Blaise Jowski might get the offensive player of the week. He did not, but boy, did he play
incredible,
very well. And I think the most encouraging thing that we're seeing out of PJ in the last two games is his completion percentage
Yeah.
is dramatically better in these two games than it was in the first three. And
17 of 22 on Saturday against CTSU.
And as we talked about with offensive coordinator Drew Cronick, who checked in with us a moment ago, by the way,
hey, Drew.
On Periscope. That means that now he's been hitting those big plays, and we have seen it manifest itself in the last two games. So if his completion percentage, if he hits 17 out of every 22,
we'll take
he
that,
throws,
man.
This offense is going to continue to roll up some awfully big numbers because they've shown they can run the football.
Yep.
And one just feeds the other. It's amazing how easy it is to play offense if you can run the football, because once you can run it, that opens up so many things in the passing game. And I've been telling people these last couple of weeks who are asking me about Furman, they're starting to notice the scores of the last 2 weeks.
Oh, yes.
And I just tell them, I said, look, I've been broadcasting Furman. This is my 7th year. I've been covering Division I college football consistently for about 20 years, and then sporadically even prior to that for a long time, so almost 30 years total. And I've never seen an offense that has so many receivers running open like ours has.
It really is incredible.
Especially in the last couple of weeks. Guys just running wide open downfield, nobody within sometimes 10, 15, maybe 20 yards of them. And a lot of that is due to the design. A lot of that's due to the misdirection and guys going all over the place, but it's also due to the ability to run the football. And that's where this team struggled so much in the last 2 to 3 seasons. We could not run the football consistently to save our lives. And in short yardage situations, forget it. It was an effort in futility more often than not. And I'm not criticizing. I'm just telling the truth.
Yep.
That's what it was. So it's just so incredibly good to see a team that runs the football well, a team that in short yardage situations, there's almost no question in your mind as to whether they're going to get it. In fact, when they got stopped on their second possession on Saturday here against East Tennessee State, I think most of us were surprised.
I was very shocked because they were averaging 3-4 yards a time when they were carrying the football.
And then you have another situation where you've got a 4th down and 2, and you bust a 32-yard touchdown run. So we have, in 5 games, seen that turn around. You expect short yardage situations to go your way, and now as PJ's completion percentage is increasing these last 2 games, man, you're seeing all of that come together. And as Clay Hendricks said Sunday on his show, they can still play a lot better.
Oh, there's no doubt.
And that's got to be the scary thing for opponents, that there are still things in the blocking and like any football team, alignment and assignment and doing the things you're supposed to do through the course of the game that can be improved on.
And set up plays later in the game.
And you're still, rolling up 600 and some yards of offense and 56 points on the board.
Yeah.
It's been a fun 2-game stretch.
There's no doubt about that, Dan. I just want to add to this that this SoCon of the Week award is a first for Furman since 2015. So congrats to Logan McCarter and the entire Furman offense and specialists, because this is definitely an award for everybody how hard they played on Saturday, not just Logan McCarter.
I'm surprised at that. I guess I just didn't think about it, but there were some weeks last year that Reese Hannon played awfully well at the quarterback spot.
Oh, I completely agree with that.
And what was very worthy, and I guess I just hadn't thought about the fact that he didn't get it.
Yep.
So, congrats to Logan McCarter. All right, you got some trivia for us?
I sure do, Dan. We're going to step out the realm of Furman football for just one day, possibly.
Okay.
For the start of Major League Baseball, I wanted to do a baseball trivia question.
Okay.
So this pertains to the Major League Baseball. Since 1903, when the World Series started to declare champion, before that it was just an exhibition, how many times has a World Series not occurred?
Since 1903?
Yeah, since 1903.
Wow, this is easy.
Oh, boy. Let's see if everybody else agrees.
Yeah. All right, that is your trivia question. You can leave your answer in the comments section of any of the platforms that you may be watching us on, or If you'd rather do that, if you're listening via the TuneIn app or the Campus FM, you can shoot them to at Dan Scott Show on Twitter, and we will see how many of you get it right by the time this show is done. Let's get set for our first break now, and as we do, as always, the show is brought to you by our friends at the Atlanta Bread Company, located at Cherrydale Plaza, right down the road from campus here. Jeff Massey and his people do such a marvelous job in providing not only great food, but even better service, and that's one of the big things. Having owned a restaurant for a year, my wife and I lost our mind back in 2009, and
it's a tough job.
Opened a little barbecue place, sold it a year later because we found out that working together we were maybe going to kill one another.
That's not good, Dan.
But Jeff and his wife worked together there. They figured it out, and the entire staff. But where I was going with that was, the food obviously has to be top quality, but as important is the customer service you receive, and that's where they are head and shoulders above so many other places. So stop by, see the Atlanta Bread Company, check out the menu. Please tell them thank you for sponsoring this show. They need to hear that, trust me. And as we go to break, here's a little more about our friends at the Atlanta Bread Company. The Atlanta Bread Company wants to make your dining experience as convenient as possible, especially if you're ordering takeout. Go online to atlantabreadcompany.com, place your order there, and pay for it too. Then, when you get to the restaurant at Cherrydale Point, you breeze right by the cash registers and go straight to the pickup counter where your food will be waiting. And speaking of food, try the new Shrimp Po' Boy, a delicious and surprisingly healthy addition to the already great menu. That's the Atlanta Bread Company, Cherrydale Point in Greenville.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT on pimento cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before firm and home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
Say you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPO Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today, and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today. Welcome back. It is 10:21 in the morning. We are just getting things cranked up on this Tuesday edition of the Dan Scott Show. Tomorrow is when things really kick into overdrive for us. Dave Glenn, ACCSports.com, makes his regular Wednesday appearance. Thursday, if things hold true to form, we should have both Billy Davis and Doug Allison. And then Friday, if all goes according to plan, we're trying to track down the voice of the Chattanooga Mocs and the dean of Southern Conference Broadcasters.
Wow.
Jim Reynolds of UT
the dean, huh?
Chattanooga. He is 36th, 37th
goodness.
year.
So he's seen it all up there
like
in
that.
chat. Yeah, the good and the bad.
As I tell him, it's just another way of saying he's old. But JR, hopefully, we're going to reach out, and hopefully he'll be able to join us during the show on Friday. And who knows what will happen between now and then as well. But let's get to Forest 3 things, or as we like to say, you can't see the forest for the threes. Oh, man. Anyway, lot to get to today.
Oh, yeah. We're going to start with some FCS rankings. A good bit of shakeup this week in the top 25 coaches poll. Besides JMU at 1 and North Dakota State at number 2, everything else was shuffling around a good bit. You had Sam Houston State and South Dakota State go up against some top 25 opponents and both lost. Central Arkansas defeated Sam Houston State 41 30. Then Youngstown State defeated South Dakota State. So those two teams fell considerably in the polls. Youngstown State jumped up to number 3 with their big victory, and Central Arkansas moved up to number 8 for number 12. And Sam Houston State fell to 11 from 3, and so South Dakota State fell from 9 to 4. Other news, you have Wofford jumped in the top 5. They're at number 5 from number 7. Jacksonville State moved up 1 spot to claim the number 4 spot in the country. Eastern Washington at 10. North Carolina A&T at 12. That kind of surprised me a little bit, Dan. New Hampshire at 13. Richmond at 14. Villanova at 15. The Citadel dropped 6 spots from 11 to 17 after their loss to Samford. Samford climbed 3 spots to number 20 from number 23. And a couple of newcomers this week. You have Elon at 23, Stony Brook at 24, and Nichols at 25.
That's the only poll that Elon is in, right?
I believe so. I don't think they're in the Stats FCS.
And
that is
then,
correct. Yes.
And then
no. In the Stats FCS,
did they get in there as well?
They're 18th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good. They have.
They're 24th last week.
They've been playing pretty well. The other thing, am I correct to say that for some unknown reason Chattanooga is still getting votes? They've fallen out of the top 25, but aren't they still receiving some votes? Didn't SoCon John tell us at the Stats FCS poll when it came out yesterday they were getting like 107 votes or something like that?
They got 18 votes this past week.
18 votes.
In the Stats FCS, but no votes in the coaches poll.
Well, that's good.
So they've fallen off considerably. In the coaches poll, some teams to get some votes. Western Carolina at 26, Yale at 22, Stephen F. Austin at 20. And those are the big – Charleston Southern with 5 votes. And those are the really schools that – well, Kennesaw State actually they garnered 1 vote this week, receiving votes. So they're still a young program moving upwards. But, it's still early in the year. Obviously going to have 24 teams make up the bracket this year. And so – I think it's going to be a race to the finish, Dan, because there's a whole host of teams that will probably vie for a spot. And those, I believe it's is it 8? No, it's 12.
Buys?
No, non-conference.
At-large bids.
At-large bids. There's the word. Yeah, I was thinking basketball, but I couldn't think of it. Yeah, at-large bids. So. It's going to be tough for multiple schools and multiple conferences to garner those votes because obviously right now it is pretty top-heavy with JMU and North Dakota State leading the way at 1 and 2, both undefeated at 5-0 and 4-0 respectively.
Reason I was asking about Elon, because they have obviously struggled since leaving the Southern Conference, but they're off to such a great start this year, and you know that there are only 2 teams in America that have beaten 3 ranked opponents in the first 5 weeks.
Who could that be?
Clemson and Elon.
Wow.
Elon at the FCS level and Clemson at the FBS level. So, they deserve to be ranked.
Oh, I completely agree with that. There's no doubt. I mean,
we should have beat them, but they deserve to be ranked.
They have a good team, offensively and defensively, but they definitely deserve that ranking in the top 25 and even as high as 18 in the stats poll. So, good job on their part, I'd say.
You know what?
What?
Beat Chattanooga this week, and then we come back home and have was it VMI and Mercer in back-to-back weeks?
Yeah.
If we can beat Chattanooga this week, we're going to start getting some votes.
Maybe.
That's
the hope.
I would think so. You get that win on the road, and then you got an opportunity with those back-to-back home games to really make some noise. You don't want to put the cart before the horse.
No, of course
yet, not. But you're starting to see the potential of this Furman team, especially offensively. And now you're thinking to yourself, A, boy, would it have been really nice to have gotten that Wofford game. But B, moving ahead, what will a 1-loss or 2-loss conference season produce? Will that be enough to produce a playoff berth?
I think two losses, depending on what happens to Sanford and the Citadel. I just don't know, Dan. I mean, I think it's going to be extremely tough for there going to be a 2-loss conference team get to the playoffs this year from the SoCon at least. I think it could happen depending on how things shape out and which team loses to whom. But I think it'll be an uphill climb for a 2-loss Southern Conference team to get into the playoffs.
Well, we'll see.
At least multiple 2-loss teams.
I know it's an expanded field. I get that from what it used to be, but a 24-team field did see 4 teams from this league get in a year ago, and that's the first time in Southern Conference history.
Yeah.
And again, largely due because of the expanded field. I understand that, but still. So if you got 4 a year ago, did you set a precedent? I don't know. We'll see. It just depends on. Look, there's a lot of football to be played.
The CAA is a really good conference too, so they could be sending 4 teams as well. So it's just going to be a battle of the heavy hitters essentially in the top conferences.
You know what? In the media, we can play that game.
Oh, for sure. That's the fun part about it.
But if you come back to it, let's play Chattanooga Saturday, see what happens there, and then move on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's the biggest game, Coach? The next one.
Yep.
Next one's always the biggest game on the schedule. So anyway.
Yeah, and Scott said that Sanford lost to ETSU last year for their 3rd SoCon loss and made it last year, so that is definitely reassuring, I'd say.
Yeah, and for them to lose that game to ETSU was baffling.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's no doubt.
So who knows?
Yep.
All right, what else?
Thing 2.
Mm-hmm.
We'll move on to some Major League Baseball here. John Coppola resigns as allegations rise about violations pertaining to international free agents and amidst other things as well. And Gordon Blakely, the team's international scouting chief, also resigned yesterday. This comes 2 years and 1 day after he was promoted to GM. John Hart will take the reins as interim GM for the moment. And multiple team execs have also filed complaints beyond the international free agent claims and allegations, citing what Dan said earlier about him tampering with free agents before they are actual free agents.
Yeah, Major League Baseball has a very short leash when it comes to certain things, and tampering is one of them. And what that means is that players aren't officially declared free agents until a specific date after the World Series, and until that time, their current team, even though their contracts have expired, has exclusive negotiating rights with that player. No other team can talk to them until whatever that date is after the World Series. And among the things he's been accused of is 2.5 months, sometimes before even the season ends. One story I saw, calling the player's agent and trying to maybe set up a meeting or starting to put starting the conversation that early, which is a clear violation of the rules. And then so on top of that, you've got the international rules as far as the amount of money that you can spend on international players, and the way they were circumventing that was you get an international player who has a representative, and that representative is over, say, multiple players.
Yep. Like Scott Boras, for instance.
Yeah, but in this case, they've got a special word for it. It's a Spanish word, I think.
Okay.
But anyway, bottom line is that the way that Coppola has been accused of circumventing that is paying that overseer, or whatever you want to call him, excessive money beyond the slot that they're allowed to pay for an international player, ostensibly to sign 2 or 3 other players.
Yeah.
But then the manager or the overseer, whatever you want to call him, gives the majority of that money to the one player, and the other guys get very little. So that's the way they have been accused of circumventing the rules. So
it's almost very similar to the basketball scandals isn't going on in college basketball to some degree.
To a certain degree. In this case, though, it's not illegal to sign money, but give the money because they're professionals. But there are rules
channels
about how much money you can spend in your international pool, and they were finding ways around that. So it was a something that finally bubbled over. He was called to the MLB offices last week.
Yep.
And had to answer a whole bunch of questions that he didn't want to answer.
Yeah.
And resigned yesterday. So John Hart right now is acting, I think you said as a moment ago, as the interim GM.
Yeah, it comes at a tough time too, Dan, because they have to find out what they're going to do with manager Brian Snicker, if they're going to keep him or let him go this year. So this is a very tumultuous time for the Braves. They have one of the best farm systems in the game. Obviously, that is mostly thanks to Copaella's and his staff's doing. But
well, and here's probably the single biggest ramification of this. I mean, they are facing a fine. They're facing losing draft choices. But one of the players kind of at the center of this overpaying in the international pool is their top infield prospect, Kevin Maton. Maton, whatever. Anyway, bottom line is that he is a switch hitter. Some people have called him the best amateur to come out of Venezuela since Miguel Cabrera, which is pretty heady stuff. Because of all of this, he could end up being declared a free agent. The Braves could lose him.
And in that class, they also signed 4 other prospects in the top 30 of the international prospects in 2016. So they could lose that almost entire class right there, along with Kevin Maton. So
very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
So the Braves organization right now, all of a sudden, is in some significant chaos. And it'll be intriguing to see the penalties Major League Baseball imposes on them, and then also what will the Braves do as far as the general manager. There's some thought that they're going to try to pry Dayton Moore away from Kansas City and bring him back into the Braves organization.
Which I wouldn't be surprised if he did come back because of the turnover that's going to happen in Kansas City after losing Eric Hosmer, Mike Moustakas, Lorenzo Cain, and possibly Gordon, which is I can't remember his first name. Alex Gordon. Yeah.
If they lose all 4 of them,
they will lose at least 2 or 3 of them. They might be able to sign 1 or 2, but there's going to be some turnover in Kansas City this year for sure, which could escalate Dayton Moore coming to Atlanta.
Well,
coming on back home.
Like everybody else, we'll watch and see what happens.
You got that right, Dan. Excited for that to come. Some college basketball news. Just want to quickly note this. LaMelo Ball, the third son to LeVar Ball, will finish out his junior and senior years via homeschool. He will no longer attend Chino Hills High School. And LeVar cites that he wants to get LaMelo away from distractions. And so he wants to... You kind of scared me right there, but damn, that was a high-pitched laugh, came out of nowhere. But...
Wait. LeVar Ball wants to get him away from distractions, so he's bringing him home to homeschool him himself.
And he wants
the king of distractions.
Exactly. So think of that of what you will, Dan. He also cites that he wants to make LaMelo the best basketball player ever, and he wants to train him himself. So we'll see what those 2.3 points per game in college is going to do for LaMelo via LeVar Ball. But just some pretty interesting news coming out of the California region once again from the great LeVar Ball.
Yeah.
With the word great, highly scrutinized.
I was looking at the service we have that provides some sound clips and stuff, and there are some things we could have run, but I refuse to. But throwing Chino's Hills coach far under the bus, saying nobody had ever heard of the program until the balls showed up.
It's just...
why people keep putting a microphone in front of this guy's face, I'll never know. I really don't. Are you that desperate for the pop cultureness of sports media today?
Yes.
It what it smacks of at really is lazy journalism, lazy reporting. Hey, this is an easy story. We know he's going to say something outrageous.
Let's go capture it. Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. And then to say he wants to remove him from the distractions, so he is going to train him. What a joke! Unbelievable. I hadn't seen that. That's why I laughed away when you said that. I'm saying you had to make that up.
You scared me is what I was trying to say.
You had to make that up.
Oh, there's no doubt there in that. I mean, that is. Well, there's no doubt I didn't make that up because he definitely said that. It's just some wise words coming from LeVar Ball once again. And if you can't hint the sarcasm there, there's plenty of it.
Unbelievable.
More college basketball news.
Please.
Grayson Allen will reassume the captain role for the Duke Blue Devils this year. He is the only player returning that averaged more than 8 minutes for the Blue Devils this year. So I think even with his
that's been a long, strange trip for Grayson Allen.
It has been, yeah. I like that quote there from the Grateful Dead. But he's had a really tumultuous time there. Obviously, his freshman year started off fantastic when he was the player of the game in the national championship game to beat Wisconsin. But then kind of fell on hard times when he had those 3 incidents last year and the year before. But hopefully he can kind of get back on the right track. And obviously, I mean, if you just look at his demeanor off the court and the way he handles a freshman, he's a fantastic person, but he has had some pretty big slip-ups, Dan.
One of the funniest things that I've seen, and it happened after the 2 incidents in his sophomore year, and then it resurfaced again last year after the tripping incident, was this little mashup that Sporting News put together called Grayson Allen Be Trippin'. and they took video of people tripping and falling, and at the moment they tripped, they superimposed Grayson Allen sliding in with a foot to trip them, and then when they fell, the next picture would be Allen superimposed. You like this with a 3. Go search that. Go search Grayson Allen Be Trippin' or Grayson Allen Sporting News video or something like that. I promise you, it is hilarious. It's one of the best things that I've seen in a long time. Whoever did that, got to give them, at least for one day, they were a creative genius.
There you go. No, he's definitely one of the better college basketball players this year, but hopefully he can stay away from social media limelight with his incidents.
Yeah.
So, but I will say this: if you don't know the story about Savannah Goodman and him, go look it up. It's pretty interesting. It'll go to show you his true colors and how good of a person he really is beyond the court.
Well, I don't doubt that he's a good person, but when you say true colors, to me, sometimes, the old saying I think is true that adversity doesn't build character, adversity reveals character, and in those moments, I think you'd have to say that that's also part of his true colors. Now, he obviously wants to shed that image.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we'll see what he's able to do here in this senior season. But that's a character flaw, obviously, that he has to work on.
Oh, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, he definitely needs to control his anger issues for sure.
And we all have character flaws, but his just happened to be on display on national television.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and when there's a camera following you every moment, every step you take, every breath you take, it's tough. So.
My buddy Cobb Oxford, Grayson's career has kind of flopped. I like it. He's a punk, a thug, a whiner, and plays for Duke. All reasons to dislike him. Tell us how you really feel, Cobb.
Yeah, I didn't see the flop of the other one, the punk part. That must have came later.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I don't know. He battled through a lot of injuries last year, so we'll see.
Yeah, most of it, but most of his issues have been self-inflicted.
Oh, there's no doubt about that, Dan.
So,
yep.
The biggest reason I think for Duke to be encouraged about their national title chances this year, the last time they won a championship was 3 years ago,
2015.
You know who one of their non-conference opponents at Cameron Indoor Stadium was that year?
The Furman Paladins.
The Furman Paladins. Who's going back there this year on November the 18th?
The Furman Paladins.
The Furman Paladins. So I don't know if Mike Krzyzewski did that on purpose or not. Anyway, what else we got?
Rick Pitino.
Let's tell you what. Let's continue that after the break because I want to get into the Tom Jurich portion of that too.
Yep.
You are watching, thankfully, we hope, the Dan Scott Show. We're live here on Facebook Live, on Twitter via Periscope, on YouTube, and also on the Campus FM and our TuneIn Radio app at WPLS-LP. Just a moment to remind you about the Walk a Mile Project, which is an organization that, from a Christian church perspective, does a lot of missions work. They spend quite a bit of time in Guatemala building houses for the homeless, finding clean drinking water sources, providing food sources, and those things. But they also train and equip other individuals and organizations to do the same thing. Find out more at the website you see there on the screen, thewhamproject.org, thewalkamileproject.org, and see if there's a way that you can partner with them and help their efforts. All right, to break we go. We'll come back, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Louisville. As we mentioned, the latest updates on Rick Pitino, who the firing process has started, and for Tom Jurich, who at least for the moment, firing process has not started.
Let's see. That's going to be an interesting story to watch, Dan.
Yes, it is. We'll talk about it when we come back right after this.
Stuck in a state of falling behind? Struggling to keep up with your kids, finances, insurance? Then let State Farm agent Steve Borkland in Travelers Rest help you simplify and get to a better state. Because with Steve handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time for everything else. More money, too, because adding State Farm policies could mean earning discounts worth up to 40%. That's money Steve can help you put towards a college savings plan. Call State Farm agent Steve Borkland today and get to a better state with State Farm.
Looking for a good lunch spot in the Travelers Rest area? The Cafe at Williams Hardware is your place. Williams Hardware has food for the whole family, from the famous Reuben to the barbecue chicken quesadilla and their daily lunch specials, which includes the award-winning BLT unpimmented cheese with pepper jelly, served Tuesday to Thursday. Williams Hardware also serves breakfast on Saturdays from 8 to 11, perfect before Furman home game. And don't forget their gift shop, which offers items for anyone on your list. Go see your friends at the Cafe at Williams Hardware, 13 South Main Street in downtown TR. Full menu and operating hours at the Cafe at WilliamsHardware.com.
So you've got a busted phone or tablet screen. Time to get a new device? Nope. Time to give it CPR. CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale can repair almost any phone or tablet screen on the market and usually can do it same day. In fact, if you have an iPhone, the fix usually takes less than an hour. CPR Cell Phone Repair also can fix computers and gaming systems, both screens and hard drives. And they sell refurbished devices and new accessories. Stop by and see the new owner, Janet Culver, today and check them out on Facebook. That's CPR Cell Phone Repair at Cherrydale, 864-282-9097. Give it CPR today. .47 as we welcome you back to the program here in what will be our final segment of the day. Just a quick word about our friends at Hall's Chop House. You can see on screen there, they are Greenville's steakhouse. They're located in downtown Greenville, very conveniently located for you, as a matter of fact. And the quality of the steaks speak for themselves. They're Allen Brothers prime steaks. They can do all kinds of meetings for you: breakfast, lunch, brunch, and dinner. Open 7 nights a week. and Sunday, all day for brunch and through dinner. They have live music every night, and also with brunch, and also have an outdoor patio. So
Beautiful.
a lot of reasons for you to check them out. The original location's in Charleston, so if you're visiting there, you can check out the Hall's location there. But here in Greenville, downtown, Hall's Chop House, the Greenville Steakhouse. Please tell them you heard about them here on the show. All right, let's get to the Rick Pitino thing, and then I'll come off the back of that with the latest on Tom Jurich.
Yeah, so his process has started by the board of trustees to fire him. They unanimously voted to start that process yesterday for a breach of contract, but it might be more difficult to fire Pitino without paying out his rest of his contract of $44 million he's owed, because an outside lawyer told investigators that there has to be concrete evidence that Pitino was complicit in bringing the recruit to the Cardinals, and that's Bowen, who allegedly took $100,000 to come to Louisville.
See, I wonder about that, because his contract also says, if I'm not mistaken, that as the head of the basketball program, he is responsible for what his assistants do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure, and I told you this last week when this first came up, and his lawyers issued that statement the next day.
Mm-hmm.
What they are doing is trying to set the stage for a negotiated buyout here, and going to try to get as much of that $44 million as they can.
Mm-hmm.
They ain't going to get it all.
Yeah, and there's some say that he could only get $11,000 of that because the school, according to Postel, the interim president, believes is only responsible for 10 days additional salary from the day Pitino was removed, per the coach's contract stipulations relating to the termination clause.
So we're somewhere between $11,000 and $44 million.
Exactly.
That's a pretty wide gap.
That is very true. So, I mean, this story is only going to continue to heat up in the coming weeks. We're probably a long ways away from getting a verdict, I would say, because it's probably going to go to court. It's going to be backed up for a year or so.
Well, we're not a long ways from a decision about his job. They started that process.
They will fire him for sure, but I'm saying in terms of will they pay him or not, that will be a legality battle for years to come, I'd say.
So while they've started the process there and got the backing of the Board of Trustees to do so, and it's called the University of Louisville Athletic Association, they're the ones who authorized interim president Greg Postel to fire Rick Pitino for quote-unquote just cause. The school's Board of Trustees failed to take a similar step with athletic director Tom Jurich, leaving him in the limbo of administrative leave. And I'm reading this from a column written by Tim Sullivan, the wonderful columnist for the Louisville Courier-Journal. The pushback is starting to get fairly significant among not only some members of the board, but some high-dollar donors who want Jurich to keep his job. And look, Dave Glenn talked about this last Wednesday as this story had just broken, and Tim Sullivan starts his column in very much the same way. If you define the athletic director under these parameters, Jurich is one of the best ever when it comes to fundraising and lifting the level of an athletic department program, taking their budget from nothing to, I think, the largest in the ACC, and all the things he did, and probably somewhere along the line does deserve a street to be named after him or his name on something there. That's how Sullivan starts this column. But the other side of the coin is that he also has presided over this mess in the basketball program. And it's not just this one, it's the previous one that right now has them appealing being stripped of their national championship from 2013. So there's this huge pushback. Postel, in his reasoning for putting him on administrative leave and starting the firing process, or wanting to start it, said that he had not been given enough time, that Jurich basically acted too quickly and too alone on the $160 million deal that he signed with Adidas. But one of the boosters who is coming back and really supporting Jurich says that's not the case, that there were a number of people involved in meetings.
Yeah.
Let me see. Here's what the booster said. He says, quote, "As noted in Tom's detailed message of September 1st, your Chief of Staff, David Adams," talking to the president, Communications Director Becky Simpson, University attorneys Peter Stavros and Craig Dilger actively participated in negotiation and assisted with at least 11 meetings. So what he's basically saying is, if you didn't know anything about it, that's your fault. So here we go again. You've got this he said, she said going back and forth. It's not going to be as easy or as clear-cut from a firing standpoint as it is with Pitino, because there are some major players at Louisville who quite simply don't care about this, and they want Tom Jurich to keep his job.
What's funny, Dan, I read in an ESPN article that J. David Grissom, the chairman of the Board of Trustees, said that he has not faced any pressure to retain Jurich. So some conflicting responses coming out of Louisville, which will only heighten the situation even more. And Postel said that he will call a news conference today to announce an interim athletic director, which would, for me to believe that they're at least starting the process to kind of, hey, we're kind of going past his Jurich, Tom Jurich.
Well, if he's on administrative leave, they have to have somebody doing the job in an interim basis anyway.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
So
I guess maybe who they choose for this job will say one way or the other. But yeah, it's a very tough situation, no matter how you cut it.
It is again a story that's not going to go away anytime soon, and you've got a program that, just a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, was being held up as a great addition athletically to the ACC, and they were already a basketball power. Their football program was coming on strong. Their baseball program had grown to national prominence, and now you've got an athletic department, as I said the other day, not counting the baseball coach, but of the major players that we're talking about here at the coaching positions or power positions in the sports that are revenue-producing sports. Bobby Petrino comes out looking better than anybody.
That doesn't make any sense.
That tells you the kind of mess that Louisville is in.
No doubt.
Right now. All right, we've got about 4 minutes until the top of the hour.
All right.
Trivia, and on this date.
We'll reverse that. Is that okay?
On this date in trivia?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right. 1920, George Sisler collects his 257th hit, which is an all-time record, and who breaks that hit almost a century later?
Ichiro Suzuki.
Yes. How many? You know, offhand?
261 or 262?
262.
Yeah.
Very, very good, Dan. Very good. 1951.
Do I get a cookie?
Pat on the back. There you go. But Bobby Thompson's shot heard around the world occurs today. Ralph Braca was the pitcher against the Brooklyn Dodgers in the 5-4 victory for the Giants. 1974, Frank Robinson is named the first black manager by the Indians. 1981, the Brewers and the Expos clinched their first postseason burst in franchise history. In 1990, George Brett won the batting title, and he is the first player to win a batting title in 3 different decades. So just goes to show you how good of a hitter George Brett was. In 2012, Miguel Cabrera clinched a Triple Crown, and it's the first since Carl Yastrzemski in 1967. Good old Yaz. And then some non-baseball on this date. In 1974, Pele retires. And then this is quite a big day for our man O.J. Simpson, who was just released from prison a couple days ago. In 1995, he was found not guilty of the murders he was accused of, and then in 2008, he was found guilty of robbery. So, really interesting day for Mr. Simpson.
Before we get to the trivia, the Bobby Thompson shot heard around the world.
Yep.
This date in 1951. I want you to listen to the clip of the late great Russ Hodges with the call, and then I want to tell you a story about how this clip even survives today. But here is Russ Hodges on that call of that, what many people still think and consider to be the most famous moment in the history of Major League Baseball.
Up there swinging. Backer throws. There's a left back. It's going to be, I believe. The Giants won the pennant. 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 Bobby Thompson hits into the very back of the left field stand. The Giants won the pennant, and they're going crazy. They're going crazy.
I just got goosebumps, Dan.
Yeah. Well, the story about that is that clip would not exist if it weren't for a Dodger fan who, when it appeared like the Dodgers were going to win the game, they went into the ninth inning with a 4-1 lead. And this Dodger fan who lived in an area among Giant fans took a reel-to-reel tape recorder and put it underneath his big floor model cabinet radio to record that so he could play for his Giant friends their own broadcaster wallowing in the mire of the Giants' loss to the Dodgers. And instead what he got was that ended up being given to the radio station, and it ended up living on in baseball history. All because a Dodgers fan was going to be a jerk to his Giant fan friends.
Man.
So,
talk about a gotcha moment right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
Little history for you.
Absolutely.
All right. So I even got today's trivia question.
You did. I was impressed. It was somewhat of a trick question, too, Dan. Since 1903, when the World Series started to declare champion, it was an exhibition before 1903. How many times has the World Series not occurred?
And the answer is twice.
Twice.
1994, which everyone pretty much got the strike year.
Yep.
But in 1904, 90 years prior, it was not played, which would have been the second year of the World Series, because John McGraw, the manager of the National League pennant winner, the New York Giants, did not want to demean his club by having them play the champion of the upstart American League, so they did not play the World Series.
They were not good enough, apparently. Yeah. 1904.
Yeah, that's what I said, 1904.
You said 2004.
Well, okay, 1904. In any event, that is the answer to the trivia question.
It is.
Twice. Anything else?
That's all I got.
Well, that's probably the best news we've had all day.
I think so. No more damage can be done.
On the show tomorrow, we will visit with Dave Glenn, ACCSports.com, get his take on what's happened at Louisville since the news was breaking last Tuesday when we talked to him on Wednesday of last week, plus everything else going on ACC. Continue to look forward to another weekend of college football, including, of course, Furman on the road at Chattanooga, and who knows what else. Always a surprise or two is possible here on the program. Until then, you folks have yourself a great day, and we will see you tomorrow, same time, same places. For Forrest, I'm Dan, saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.